because they believe they did not have a choice. You act as if people
Can I give you one
then
more
then
example, sir?
can I finish?
Give you
Oh,
one
may I
more.
finish?
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
You act as if people back then were living the same way they were today, and they weren't. You didn't see anything else but the plantation. That was it. And
Okay.
your family's been divided. People have been tortured and terrorized for trying to escape. I don't know really how that's a choice. But look, joining us now. Stay with me, brother, for a second, because I want maybe Brother Ben can explain it, because Dr. Ben Chavis knows Kanye. I want to get his perspective on this. Benjamin Chavis, the president of the National Newspaper Publishers Association, Black Press USA. Folks, we're streaming on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube as well. Make it plain. So please join us. Ben, how are you this
Good
morning,
morning.
man? How you feel?
Good. I'm good, fine, man. How about you, Diana? Good morning to you.
Yeah, happy Cinco de Mayo, and may the fourth be with you and all that good stuff, Ben. Ben, so young brother Eric in Michigan's on the line.
Yes.
He feels, and correct me if I'm wrong, Eric. He agrees to some extent with Kanye that people had a choice during slavery, and those who had a choice were people like Denmark V's and Harriet Tubman, and also those who had a choice were those who snitched on them and sabotaged them. My position is, if death is the other option of the two choices, then that's not really a choice per se. But Ben, we want you to weigh in on this, because
Right. Well, I think first of all, I listened to the young brother, and I listened to you, Mark, and I know Kanye West personally. From the Hip Hop Summit days with
right,
Russell Simmons and myself, who work with all the hip hop artists,
right,
and I consider myself somewhat of an OG in hip hop culture. I think that first there may be some confusion about the word choice. Choice is an act or of instance of choosing. It's the right, the power, opportunity to choose. Now, African people did not choose to be in slavery; they were forced in slavery, and so the word choice doesn't really apply to chattel slavery, any kind of slavery. And so I think what we're debating is whether how Kanye used the term and what was Kanye's motive. You know, see, Kanye is a master marketing person. Kanye is marketing his name now by associating with Donald Trump. Certainly, in a question around the question of slavery, um, yeah, you get your name out there, but you get your name out there, in my opinion, a bad way, a negative way.
right.
To me, all press is not all press coverage, all media coverage is not justifiable for whatever you say. In other words, I'm going to say something crazy. I'm going to say something I don't really believe, but I know it'll bring me media attention. I don't think that's correct.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that Kanye himself will self-correct it because he's getting a lot of negative response to what he said. You recall, Mark? I'm going to go back before we talk about Trump and what Kanye said. You remember when Bush was president? Kanye said that President Bush did not care about black people. You remember that?
I do.
It was around the hurricane.
That's right. Around Hurricane Katrina.
Right, and everybody praised Kanye for speaking out. You remember that?
Right. They sure did.
Oh, so this brother's got courage. This brother's
Mm-hmm.
speaking his mind
Mm-hmm.
because a lot of black leaders were silent when Bush basically did not do all of what he had the power to do to save those brothers and sisters in New Orleans during the
And you're
flood.
right. Many of us applauded Kanye when he said that.
Exactly. So now, today, many of us are condemning Kanye because of what he said. So what I'm trying to say is that I certainly don't agree with what Kanye said, but I tell artists all the time, I would defend your right for artistic freedom. I would defend your right for freedom of speech. But I will also hold you responsible for what you put out in the universe.
Mm-hmm.
So to me, you got to be, you use freedom of speech, you use freedom of artistic expression, in my view, to support the liberation, to support the empowerment of people, particularly African people, because I think that we live in a time, Mark, where the news cycle is very, very short. So what trends and what is controversial tends to trend more than something that make a great statement about the condition. For example, Mark, right now, this decade is the decade of people of African descent by the United Nations.
That's right.
And most black people, most African people in the United States don't even know it.
Don't even realize it.
So to me, I just don't want us to get off, how can I say, off focus because somebody says something controversial, because you say something. I do not believe in my heart that Kanye believes in his heart that what he said was accurate.
Have you reached out to him yet, Ben? Are you gonna try to reach out to him?
I'm gonna reach out to him. I'm gonna bring him on your show. We're gonna talk about it.
Okay.
Yes.
But
we're gonna talk about it as brothers. We're not gonna talk about it. I'm not joining the lynch mob against Kanye, but I'm certainly, as his elder, will call him into account that he has to be held responsible for what he says. And I think that if he was misunderstood, if he has an opportunity to correct himself, I'm sure he would. He's a great, talented young man, and I knew him. He's going through a lot in his own situation, not in terms of the culture, the music, but family. And I think if you look at Kanye's music, look at his lyrics, you can see the brother is evolving. He's not devolving, he's evolving. The question is, you always want to be responsible for the content of what you put out into the universe. I think all of us, I have to be responsible for what I say. Mark, you have to be responsible for what you say. Brother Eric, who's on the phone, needs to be responsible for what he said. We all have to be responsible. But at the end of the day, let's strive to understand one another before we jump on judgment of each other.
Eric, in Michigan, you still with us?
Yeah, I'm still here.
All right. So I hope you got what Dr. Ben said about this whole notion of there being a choice. But Ben is the head of the Black News. See, as I've been saying, we all need to read more. And not only have I said it about Kanye, there's a whole lot of folk running their mouths who are not reading and really getting the real context of things. So one thing you can do, y'all, is read the black press. Because there's a lot of black history in the black press. How many of us read a black newspaper or go to a black newspaper's online site? Go to Black Press USA. Become more in touch with the reality. Because, see, part of what's going on, honestly, Dr. Chavis, is Kanye has been spending time around a lot of these black conservatives. And they have a meme and a mantra that we're all mentally enslaved and that we're slaves to the Democratic Party. That's a thing. They all push that. And he's kind of dipped his toe in that. He went a little further with what he said on TMZ the other day about 400 years in slavery, chattel slavery was a choice. But we all need to wake up and read our own publications, our own books, our own history, our own media, so that we can know the truth and what is. So, Eric, it's I want to be clear. You named two people. There were people who took over the slave ship, killed the slave captain, cut his head off. I mean, we resisted. That's the first. We resisted where we could. All right.
I don't disagree. I don't disagree.
But it's not accurate to say that anything per se was a choice, because we were in a war.
Right. Slavery was imposed on African people. We didn't, send messages to the European, come pick us up, take us to America. That's not what happened.
Right.
That's not what happened.
Right.
And then after we got here,
I don't think that I'm sorry, but I don't think that I'm saying that I don't think I'm saying that part. I don't think that I'm saying at first, yeah, we were brought here and we were, forced into slavery. But what I'm saying is that I'm saying some people had a choice to leave and they didn't leave. They maintain that system. Can I just give you one point? I was reading a book called Brainwash, and they had a interview with a former slave, and he said that I told on black people because I can get candy from the master.
Because he didn't have a choice.
Well, right.
See, choice is a relative, Eric. Choice is relative. We get them to go to work every day because we don't have a choice. Everybody's not gonna get them to go to work every day and overthrow their business, or their boss.
But he actively snitched. He didn't have to say anything. He actively snitched. He didn't have to say nothing.
Well, I doubt that. There was it was survival. Some people just had to survive. Were they wrong to snitch? Of course they were. But as Ben is saying, the root of it was that slavery was imposed on us. To say that it was anything other than a choice was just wrong. Anything about it. Anything that comes from it. But the point, the other fallacy in this is that many of us resisted, many of us lived to fight another day, and many of us gave our lives in the Civil War to end it. So
and I agree.
Even the whole conversation about was it a choice or was it, and the problem is, Frank, and that goes back to the point I was making earlier. Trump, the Republicans, the whole right-wing meme, look at all of them. Clarence Thomas, they all say the same thing, that we are slaves still because we aren't Republican. Kanye plays into that by saying slavery in general is a choice. You never heard that before. You never heard anybody else say that in history, that chattel slavery 400 years ago was a choice. But it falls right in line with a false meme that they put out there. So even to debate it, even to buy into anything having to do with choice is just not real. The Republican Party ain't a choice for us.
Can I give you another analogy, Mark?
Please.
School choice. And people say, oh, I need to be able to send my child to whatever school I want. I believe in school choice. But see, that's trick language.
Right.
That's white supremacy language, because what they're really saying is we don't want public schools where every child, regardless of race or religion or socioeconomic circumstance, should get the best education in the richest nation in the world.
Yeah.
They back away from that because they know that choice is a false term that's used by white wing and particularly white supremacists to deny the rest of the world equality, justice, and freedom.
Yeah. Eric, I got to run, man. Listen, you won Sherry's Berry's gift certificate, $50. Congratulations. Hope you get something nice for your mom. And what I'm going to do is put you on hold. We'll get all your information. Thanks for your call. Dr. Ben Chavis with us, blackpressusa.com. Bill's in Richmond. Bill, God bless you. Good morning. Get woke. Get ready for impeachment. May the 4th be with you, and happy Cinco de Mayo. You're on the air with Dr. Benjamin F. Chavis, Jr. Go right ahead.
Yes, sir, Mark. The thing I told your screener was that I really don't have any opinion about what Kanye West says, either one or the other. I maybe understand metaphorically part of what he means about what slavery is versus the current situation. But my point is this, and Dr. Chavis, I appreciate what you said. I listened last night to Dean Abdallah, and you were on it, Mark, and the lady, I can't remember her name, is why go into an ad hominem attack on Kanye West? That makes you sound like Trump. It really does. I mean, his opinion is his opinion, but I don't think he's mentally derelict. I don't think he's turned on Uncle Tom. I mean, argue the point of what he says, but don't go after him as a person. That, to me, I don't think is sense. And Dr. Chavis basically came up with the same thing I thought while I was on hold.
All right.
Well again, I know Kanye personally, and I know that he's a very gifted and talented brother. And I also know, which I don't want to get into the detail, some of his own life struggles he's had to go through. It's not easy out here to make a life for yourself, whether you're in the entertainment industry or the sports or in academia, to struggle against white supremacy every day, every second of your life can bring about changes in how you see the world. And I think that I'm not, like I said, I'm not joining the chorus of people condemning Kanye, but I do join those that know him to say, hey, brother, you have to be careful what you say. You have to be responsible for what you say. There's no way in the world that I think that Kanye would deliberately justify slavery. Choice is a bad word. It should not apply in any form of the imposition of slavery. It's the most African Holocaust that the world has ever seen, and we're still living the impact of it generations later. Still prevalent, and that's why I think that how we use our words have to be carefully done, particularly if you have following or millions of particularly young people follow you or listen to you or are guided by your sense of responsibility. So to me, I think it's a discussion that we need to have, but it is not an indictment or lynch mob situation that we need to have.
Well, no, that's true. And like, for example, the thinking about the Holocaust. My wife's Jewish, and I've asked her several times over the years, and I know a lot about the Holocaust, but I question her sometimes. I said, how could something like that happen and nobody really fought back? She said, well, they did, but there wasn't a thing where they were going to overcome the whole German army. You had the second strongest army in the world.
But let me say this.
You are what you are.
But, Bill, let's be clear. Since you brought that up, with two things, let me respond. I respect Ben and Ben's friendship with Kanye. I admit I was hard on Kanye. If Ben brings him in here and we can talk, if I need to apologize, I will. I'm man enough to do that. I had a visceral reaction to what he said at first, not even so much about the slavery piece, but that he, as you said earlier, Ben, that he aligned himself with Trump. There's a lot going on here. Even if he didn't say anything about slavery, the whole MAGA hat, all of that, we got to talk about that. But think about this, though, Bill, and this goes to our respect for ourselves and our history. If Kanye had said the Holocaust was a choice or wasn't real, he'd never make another record. Am I right, Ben? I mean, there's a different set of consequences. Michael Jackson had to take "Kike" out of one of his songs. I'm just being honest with y'all. And if you think about it, what people, Kanye kind of slid under the radar because his full statement was slavery shouldn't be he's tired of slavery being associated with African Americans, like Holocaust shouldn't always be associated with Jews. And folks just kind of pretend like they didn't hear that. Okay? And I heard that. I said, oh, Lord, now if they pick that up, it's going to be a whole nother thing. But that's the same as denying the Holocaust. Bill, you can't say that. You cannot say out loud. You cannot say out loud. You better only say it to your wife. You don't know why people didn't fight back in the Holocaust. Because if you say it out loud anywhere else, the ADL and everybody else will be on you. And I'm not saying I have a problem with that. I respect that. That's sacred. That's the struggle. That's reality. None of that stuff should be minimized. And that's what we're really talking about here.
Right. And Mark, I think, and to the brother who's calling in, look, none of us, no one, whether you're the president of the United States or whether you're on the street corner somewhere, has the right to disvalue a human life.
Right.
And that's what this is about. No one comes into this world wanting to be a slave, wanting to be the victim of a Holocaust.
Right.
It's not. It's ahistorical, and when you're ahistorical, you're apolitical, and sometimes you can, people will think you're immoral. You're amoral.
Right.
And that's what all the controversy has stirred up. This the only thing now I know, Mark, what Kanye, if he's listening, he'll probably say, well, damn, if I hadn't said that, y'all wouldn't even be discussing it. So, I know, but my thing is, you can say something that's right. You can say something that's righteous and still get a conversation. And that's why I appreciate what you do, Mark, on your show, because you and your visceral reaction at first to Kanye, I probably had the same visceral reaction. But then I had a little time to reflect upon it and pray about it. And I said, well, what is going on with this brother? I'm talking about Kanye. We know what's going on with Trump. I mean, when Steve Harvey and others, aligned themselves with Trump, they got in trouble. They got in market trouble. Yeah. Because black people now, people of African descent, are at the point now that we don't tolerate what we used to tolerate. People used to joke about even being black. Mm-hmm. I'm from the South. I know it wasn't always fashionable. And then when the Black Power movement happens, Black is Beautiful movement happens, we have to overcome the visages of white supremacy in our own minds, in our own lives. And we still have to do that even today in 2018. That's why I'm so proud of the Black press of America, because at least we have 220 African American-owned newspapers who strive every week, great against odds, great against economic odds, Mark, to keep those papers alive, to keep their truth disseminated to 47 million people of African descent who still live in the United States.
Still fighting and holding up the blood-stained banner. Bill in Richmond, thank you. Let me try to get one more in before we do have to run. J.H. is in Connecticut. J.H., God bless you. Good morning. Get woke, ready for impeachment. Welcome to Make It Plain. May the force be with you, and happy Cinco de Mayo. You're on with Dr. Benjamin Chavis. Your thoughts on Kanye, quickly, please.
Good morning, Reverend Dr. Bennett. Good morning to Reverend Thompson.
Good morning.
Listen, I agree with you 100% that it's not a choice, okay? A gun beats a spear, and a ray gun beats a gun. What are you going to do? Okay, you're in slavery. They have the guns, weapons, and you can't get out. Simple as that. And you're forced. Now, listen. Everyone has a choice coming up on May 13th to join the PoorPeoplesCampaign.org. PoorPeoplesCampaign.org.
That's right.
To continue on with the work about the King. The first week is going to be Somebody's Hurting Our People, children, women, and people with disabilities in poverty. Second week is Linking Systematic Racism and Poverty. You can go online to PoorPeoplesCampaign.org and make a choice to join Reverend Barber, Reverend Theo Harris. Barber. All right, in that, or you can sit down and just watch. You can continue on to work about the King. You have a choice to do that or to not. Secondly, we need to talk about voting and verifying the vote. Mark, there's a guy named John Roberts Brakey, Brakey. He's on Facebook. The one reason why this guy Moore lost the election was because John Roberts Brakey, Brakey, go online. His group brought a federal lawsuit to make sure that the vote was verified in Alabama. And so he goes around the country talking about verifying the vote. You have a small little group. I think he was on Tom Hartman the other day. So we need to register the vote, verify the vote.
All right.
And that's what he'd be talking about.
All right. Thank you, man. And look, let me get one more in. Charles in Miami. Charles, God bless you. Good morning. Get woke, ready for impeachment. And may the fourth be with you and happy Cinco de Mayo. You got the last word with Dr. Benjamin F. Chavis, Jr., president of the National Newspaper Publishers Association. Support the Black press, folks, blackpressusa.com. Go right ahead, Charles.
I just think we got to pray for Kanye. Obviously, he's lost, and no matter what, that's what changes everything. So we're going to pray for Kanye, keep him in my prayers. But also, we still have to let him know that he is dead wrong. Dead wrong.
Well, thank you, Charles. And Ben, I think that's important where you come in. I thought about it, too, this week that you, since you know him, perhaps there's a way he can be reached.
Right. And I think he will come on. Yeah.
Even if he doesn't, I don't want to be self-serving. I mean, we'd love to have him in here. I don't want to be self-serving. But I think, too, it wouldn't hurt for him because I think I hear from some of these callers, the initial reaction, a lot of these things we get upset, but then people have a level of empathy. But, he seems surrounded by some of these other folk. So we need to bring him in to be surrounded by some of us so he doesn't get isolated. That's how they get you. And they pull you in. And then you're right too. We all could learn a lesson from just trying to get publicity for publicity's sake, y'all. That don't always work out the way. I mean, this could mortally harm him in his own community forever. And that's why,
exactly. And
so if you can help save the brother, Ben.
But Mark, both you and I are called into the ministry. So
yes, sir.
Yeah, I don't think anyone is beyond redemption. I think we have to pray for Brother Kanye. And we pray that his words will be much more accurate and articulate in the interest of the liberation and the empowerment of people, and never in the interest of those who would dare to enslave another human being, those who would dare to lynch another human being, those who would dare to deny a child of God equal access to education because of the color of their skin. We got to rid our world of that kind of sentiment, and no one should ever come close to putting out verbiage that appears to sound as a justification of that kind of inhumanity to inhumanity.
Right. Speaking of history, y'all know the history of Dr. Chavis and the Wilmington 10. A lot of books written about that, movies even. So, use this opportunity to learn about history and keep up with history made every day with the Black Press, blackpressusa.com, blackpressusa.com. Our very special guest, as always, has been my dear friend, the Reverend Dr. Benjamin F. Chavis Jr., former head of the NAACP as well. Ben, thank you, man.
Well, thank you, man. And look forward. We'll be back on in 2 weeks, and I'll have one of my publicists with me.
Absolutely. Thank you, Doctor. Talk to you a little later, okay?
You. God bless.
All right.
Thank you, my man.
Peace, peace. Folks, we've got another very special segment coming up. Do not go away. We're going to stream that one, too, so don't go away. We'll be right back. Sirius XM Progress 127. May the 4th be with you. This is MIP.
Oh, the times they are a-changing.